Time now for Night Court. Butts County, Georgia Sheriff Gary Long says he's trying to protect children, so he plans to put signs out warning trick-or-treaters they're at the home of a registered sex offender. Now, 3 sex offenders have filed a federal lawsuit claiming the signs violate their constitutional rights and cause them anxiety and humiliation. Let's debate with tonight's Legal Eagles, Washington Times legal affairs reporter Alex Sawyer and criminal defense attorney David Bruno. Great to have you both.
Nice to be here.
All right, Exhibit A. Here is Sheriff Gary Long.
We just want to eliminate any possibility of any of these children in our county becoming prey to a sexual predator.
Is he wrong, David?
Yeah, unfortunately he is. Now, I agree with his policy. Let's protect our children. But at the same time, it has to be done right. And I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I represent some people charged with sex crimes. And I find that this would be a violation of the Due Process Clause. Why? Because when defendants enter into pleas and they agree to the registration, they're agreeing to registration and certain other things. And that statute is pretty specific. You can't live next to daycare. You can't have some jobs. And it goes into prohibiting certain conduct, and it never ever talks about these signs. So they're not on notice at the time that they enter into their deals or they're convicted. So that would be a violation of the Due Process Clause in my mind.
Alex, your turn.
Yeah, other states have these no candy laws that talk about signs, and what their Supreme Courts have ruled is that they can't apply retroactively. So if somebody was done with their punishment in 2006, but the law was passed in 2008, it couldn't apply to them, but it could going forward. This case is interesting because Georgia doesn't have such a law, so although the sheriff's intentions might be good, it's hard for him to point to anything on the books in his state that supports what he is doing.
Exhibit B, here is the lead attorney for the complainants.
The law allows the sheriff to put a list of registered sex offenders at his office, at the courthouse, on the internet. It does not allow him to go door to door and start telling people you have a sex offender living next door.
Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, something that the courts look at is what's the governmental interest here, and I think everyone can recognize that there is a strong interest in protecting children, especially on a night where they're extremely vulnerable, maybe sometimes unsupervised by their parents, and so especially approaching strangers' homes. So you can see where the intent is. David,
I take it you agree with that attorney?
Yeah, I agree with the rationale to protect the children again. Please, I'm not standing up here saying not. But at the same time, we need to follow the law. And if you allow this, where does it end? I mean, can he now pull up a spotlight on everybody's house? Can it be a blow-up figurine? Who knows where it ends? So, unfortunately, I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I could see this being struck down.
Exhibit C from a court document, the sheriff's office response to the lawsuit. Plaintiffs' relevant First Amendment rights in this context are diminished by the pervasive government regulation applicable to sexual offenders, and any burden on any plaintiff's alleged First Amendment rights was outweighed by the compelling government interest in protecting vulnerable members of the public from sexual offenders. Is that off base, Alex?
That's going to be a tough one for the sheriff's office, just because forcing somebody to have a sign outside of their house could be a content-based issue. And so I think that they have a high burden to reach for the court to uphold this. However, I do think that you're going to see public outrage, that they would like to know the safe houses for their children to approach. So it could be something that the jury might end up ruling differently than the court of public opinion.
And David, I assume that you believe that the sheriff's office argument there goes way too far.
I do. Interesting takeaway that I have is that the plaintiff's attorney is arguing that the sheriff is guilty of trespass because he came onto the property to put the lawn. I think there's a better argument on due process, like I made in the beginning. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when defendants enter deals and they have expectations as to what registration means, they never ever think that a sign is going to be placed on their yard for Halloween.
So, David, is your argument that maybe parents should be more proactive if they want to know if there's a sexual offender within the area, that they should do a little due diligence on their part?
Exactly, right? These individuals are registered at the county, and there's a database to check. So why not take the resources and use it for better? Why not use bulletins? Hey, check the database prior to going trick-or-treating with your kids. I think that that would fall under the law, and I think that while the sheriff has good intentions here, it's going to be struck down. I just don't think he's doing it the right way.
Alex, where do you think this goes from here?
It's going to be interesting to watch it play out. There's obviously a short window between now and Halloween. I saw another county actually in the state, that sheriff was going to round up the sex offenders in his area and keep them at the town civil chamber. And I thought that was a little bit more extreme than a sign.
All right.
Yeah, that's a problem, too.
Final thoughts? Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I think that these offenders and the attorney need to act quickly, because if they don't have a resolution now, I mean, we're less than 1 week away. So they need to get an injunction, they need to get to the courthouse, and they need a decision quickly.
That's true, and I will say these signs, this was an issue back, I read, in 2018, so it's been something that this county has been dealing with for a while, and it's interesting that it's coming down to the wire right now.
All right. Alex Sawyer, David Bruno, thanks very much.